Good afternoon, staff. I decided to go ahead and for you my data and how to go about analyzing it. You should be able to see my screen right now. So on the screen, I currently have up the kindergarten data. What I was thinking is that as you're analyzing this, some of these numbers might not make sense to everybody. So everybody doesn't quite have the data brain like I do. So I wanted to go over what these numbers mean. So since kindergarten is the first thing up, I am going to just go over kindergarten, and I'll look at math and at reading and go over the reflection sheet and kind of how I want you to think about the data as you're reflecting. So if you look here, you'll see Franklin, which I'm going to highlight. So what these numbers mean is in the fall of this year, the average of our two kindergarten classes, their average RIT score was 136.5. For the winter test, you see here by winter, that's what the W means. The average of our two kindergarten classes was 148.5. So that means our growth between fall and winter was 12 points. So on our reflection sheet, you're going to, this applies to the second half. I'll go over the first half. I'm going to kind of do it backwards, I guess. So it says, what was your grade level growth points? Kindergarten would write 12 compared to the rest of the district. So then kindergarten would look at this and kind of think to themselves, okay, we scored 12, and if I look at the rest of these numbers, on the middle to higher end compared to the rest of the district. So that is what they would write. We are on the middle to higher end compared to the rest of the district. Then they're going to reflect on, because I'm looking and I see 4, 7, 8, I see 11, somebody else has a 12. We see the green, and you'll notice right here it says GCG, and if we scroll down just a little bit, GCG means gap closing growth. That means we're closing the achievement. Those schools are closing the achievement gap because they had high growth. So then I want you to think about, what do you attribute this to? So kindergarten is going to think about, well, if kindergarten growth was compared to everybody else in the district was middle to high, why is that? Why did we have such high growth in kindergarten from fall to winter? And compared to everybody else, it looks like we're doing a pretty good job and we're with everybody else. So why do they think that is? And then you're going to see some other questions that I asked, because I kind of want to keep a pulse on some things that are going on with the curriculum, so I can get a gauge on some things that are going on. So you're going to see some questions that say, how many minutes a day are you doing math stations, guided math? What types of activities are you doing in these stations? How are you developing your groups? What computer programs are you utilizing? Some examples are Study Island, MobyMax, Ascend Math. There might be more. There probably are more, but I just gave some examples. There are similar questions for reading. Again, you're going to look at the data. You're going to let me know how many growth points you had. How did this compare to the rest of the district? Was this average? Was it low? Was it in the middle? Was it high? And what do you attribute this to? And then how many minutes are you doing reading stations and guided reading every day? What type of things are students doing in stations? How are you developing your groups for reading? How many minutes a day do you spend independent reading? Are you conferring with students about reading while they're independent reading? And if so, what types of discussions are you having with the students? These questions are going to help me analyze where people are at or with their data and what kind of trends we have. So if people are low, what common things are they doing? If we're high, what common things are they doing? And then that will help me at my principal meeting as well when I'm talking with the other principals, because I know a common thing that is always asked is, well, the schools that have high growth, what are they doing? So then I will be able to more accurately ask those questions to those schools to see what they're doing and say, okay, well, this is what my teachers that have high growth are doing, and what are you guys doing? So I know a question probably is everybody in the district doing a reflection? The answer is yes, in some way. They are reflecting. Are they doing this exact form in this exact way? No, this is something I created for us because this is what we need in our building. If you look at the bottom of this form, I do want to explain what these things mean so you know what's going on. At the bottom where it says district, fall, district, and growth, the average kindergartner in our district out of all the schools, so if we took all these scores and averaged it out, it should average a 133.4. And in the winter, it was a 144.4. So the average growth in our district was an 11. To think about, so kindergarten, our average was a 12, and the average growth in the district was 11. So I'd say we're doing all right. Now the norm, if we look at those norm sheets, the norm for the fall is a 138.5. The norm for the winter is a 151. So the norm growth is 13. So we are just shy of that at 12. So we're doing okay in kindergarten. So when you're looking at these bottom numbers on the spreadsheet, that's something also to think about, is what the district average is. That'll help you gauge instead of just looking at the numbers as well. And then this bottom right here on the right-hand side where my mouse is hovering over will tell you the norm on that sheet. So the average kindergartner in the country, what is the average kindergartner or the average student doing for your grade level? So you'll see the tabs at the bottom. So you will just click on your grade level. You only need to worry about your grade level. You won't be doing this for every grade. So then I can click on first grade math. Sorry, my computer's a little slow. Apparently they added a bar graph down below. I'm not real worried about that. So the average is there. So here again, the district average was a 10.7. The norm growth is 13. So first grade, you will analyze your data and answer the questions. So then you'll do the exact same thing for reading. So I'm trying to click on kindergarten reading. So for Franklin, if I'm looking at Franklin, because I'm a kindergarten teacher, I see that the district growth is a 9.2 on average. The norm in the country for an average kindergartner taking this is 11.7, and we were a 6.6. I might think to myself, that's kind of in the lower area. So what would attribute this being lower? And kind of think about those things, not trying to have productive solutions and figure out how we can get that to bump up. So each grade level, you're going to do this. So hopefully this explanation helps with what all these numbers mean. The next thing that you are going to do, and I'm just going to go ahead and type in here, is you are going to, let's see if I can find the right, there we go. You're going to go to the MAP website. I'm not at work, so my internet at home is low. And I'm going to show you which report you're going to pull up for your reflection here. So as that's trying to load, I'm going to go back to here. So this top part, go to the map reports. It should be the very first link. If you click on it and download that report, it's going to tell you on the very right-hand side if they met their growth projections or not with a yes or a no. That's what you're going to fill in these two boxes. If the answer is yes, you'll put their name here. If the answer is no, you're going to put their name here. For the bottom 25%, you're going to calculate. So if I have 25 kids in my class, if I use a calculator, 25 times 0.25 or 1/4 of my kids is, I was thinking about grade levels, so that might be, so it might be about, because half my class is 12 kids, so that might be about 6 kids or so. So I'm gonna, so it might be more than 2 to 4 kids. So it might be 5 to 6 kids, depending on how many kids are in your class. So if I have 25 kids in my class, it's going to be about 6 kids. So I'm going to look at my scores, kind of put them in order, and whatever 6 kids scored the lowest on NWEA, you're going to put those kids in this box here, the bottom 25%. You should be aware of who your lowest scoring kids are. And it does not matter if they're special ed, ESL, whatever the case may be, because you'll be surprised because sometimes the lowest scoring are not necessarily those kids. So we need to think about those kids and think about, are they in RTI? What services, are they special ed and LDP, and are they getting services already? If they're not, are they getting services? Should they be getting services? So those are some things that we need to think about, and I'll be pulling those reports myself and looking at those students, but I want to make sure you're aware of those students, so I want you to list them here. Here, this is for you to get a pulse on how you're doing for your SLO so far, so you can see which kids are projected. Now remember, just because they got your projection here, they need to maintain for the spring. And I know previously that they may make it now, and then in the spring they don't make it. So we need to make sure that we're adjusting our instruction so those kids are still making growth and still making their points. So those are other conversations that we will have on Thursday, as well as in grade level meetings. So I hope this was helpful. It looks like my login finally came up. And let's see if I remember my username and password. Oh, I think I changed this. I knew that was going to happen. Okay, well, I can't get in, so I'm not going to worry about that right now, but it is when you go into this website and you have the reports here and you go to your map reports, it is that first link with the projection. That's how you get to the report to get to this information for here. But if you do need help with any of this, please see me on Monday or Tuesday, and I will be more than happy to help you. All right, I believe that is it. So again, if you need anything else, just let me know. Oh, and that just got really weird, so hopefully that presented okay. Thank you, and have a great afternoon.